Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. My name is Vito. I have today with me, I have Philipp. We're going to talk about UC AI, one of our newest packages to very easily talk with LLM models. And at the end, we're also going to introduce a few new plugins that we have ready to be used by everybody. So without further ado, thank you very much for everybody for being here. Philipp, you can take it from here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vito. So I'm going to share my slides and we're ready to go. So yeah, we're talking about practical AI today. And yeah, we start from the beginning. It's not much theoretical, it's practical, it's many demos. So I hope here's something for everybody. First, who am I? I'm Philipp. I'm from Germany, but today I'm in Belgium in our office. And yeah, I'm product lead at United Codes. I love extending Apex and stuff and yeah, connecting the database with other things like AI. And yeah, I usually do talks at conferences. I blog a lot and you may have heard of me. So the agenda, what will we look into today is first some introduction. Then we're looking at just the simplest thing, generating text with LLMs. What are different providers? What is structured output? How we can analyze files? What is reasoning and thinking? And how we can actually let AI call functions in our database with tools. And then a quick prospect. But let's get started. So first thing, I think it's a little bit an issue of ChatGPT basically made us feel everything is chat with AI. And in our field where we build, Apex apps or like database apps, I think that shouldn't always be the case in our business. So, for example, imagine your banking website looks like ChatGPT tomorrow. Would you like it? Like just a big chat box? I would say probably you won't like it. You want to log in, you want to see your balances, so you want to see still the dashboard. You know where to click to create a transaction. I don't think that many people would like to, if they already know how to do a transaction, like a form where you know what to input, that you now do it via chat or something, like writing into a chatbot. Chat can help if you don't know what you really want to achieve or how you can achieve it. But really, when we talk about AI, it's not always about chat. Instead, us as database developers, I think we should look at AI and how it can assist us in handling data. So first, analysis is a huge thing. We can summarize, classify, categorize, cluster, and detect anomalies. And it's often or always faster than us humans, but often smarter. Big catcher, it's still LLMs have issues, they can hallucinate, so we will never be sure that they don't make mistakes. Then unstructured to structured. If you think about it, an email is pretty unstructured. It's just a wall of text. But we as relational people, we have our tables with columns, etc. And AI can actually help us to extract values and store it in a relational fashion afterwards. And if we combine everything, we can do automations. So nightly jobs to crunch some numbers, to do something with AI, and also allowing it to read and write data. So now the fun part, what can actually Oracle do for us in this part? So first, in the database, there's something like Select AI that actually allows us to connect to AI models from the database. The thing is, it's 23 AI only. And like, please write into the chat who is already on production with 23 AI. I think Oracle says it's generally available. I disagree, it's not on-prem. Nobody knows when it will be, but they delayed it for a long time. So I would say, yeah, Select AI is not available in many cases. People don't have it. And that's a shame. I mean, talking to AIs is most often just calling some APIs. That's just a web service call. You can do that from an old database. Then I'm an Apex developer, so Apex also has some help for this, the Apex AI package, for example, and it's really nice, and you have a cool integration with Apex. But the big issue here is that, it's AI is moving so fast, there are a lot of things coming out, and the current state of what Apex supports is quite outdated. So most of the things I will show you today, Apex can't do yet. Maybe it can do in the future. But do you really want to depend on something where you don't know if in a year if it's outdated again? And currently there's a situation with like 25.1. It's expected. It should, many people would have hoped it would already be released, but it's delayed. So do you want to be dependent on Apex release cycles? So I don't think Oracle is unfortunately helping us much in using AI currently. So I thought, fine, I will do it myself. And I created UC AI. And that's the most important thing. Everything I show you today is free open source. So the packages that I show you, you can just download them on GitHub. Of course, if you want to connect to AI providers, most charge money. So you still have to pay. You have to get your own API keys, but the PL/SQL part is free. UCI is a PL/SQL software development kit for AI APIs, so I want to make it easy to just connect to any AIs. It runs on Oracle 12.2 Plus, at least theoretically, because I use the JSON data types a lot, and they came straight 12.2. I haven't tested it myself on a 12.2 yet, but if you run into issues, just create an issue, and then I can take a look at it. And it's a unified interface, and that's a big point. So there are a lot of AI providers. I will show you them further, but oftentimes they have different APIs. And the goal with this one is that you don't care about it. UCI will take care of all the different implementations. That makes it, for example, easy to switch providers and models. And I will have demos for that later on. Okay, and the most crucial thing that LLMs do is generating text, if you think about it. It's just they come up with words. And this is the core fundamentals. And with that, we can build upon this. But first, the fundamentals. And if you have installed UCAI, that's fairly straightforward. You can see the documentation after this talk. You can see this is how we can, for example, ask an AI to generate us some text. So first important here, we have a result variable, and it's JSON object T. So we just don't get the text back, we also get a full JSON of response. And then I will just call UCI.generateText, then a user prompt. So this is what the input explained the philosophy of Fight Club, one of my favorite movies. And then you pass a provider. So providers is, for example, OpenAI, or Google has models, Facebook has models, etc. And then we pass a model. So in this case, I have like constants, and this is GPT-5. I could use GPT-4. If I would pick another provider, I could use a different model. And then we get something back, the text that was generated. Okay, if you already know a bit about models, and you know there's also a system prompt, and that's like you can restrict the model to do something. It's different from the user prompt because the model should treat it more importantly. You can say, never ever talk in English, you can only speak German. And then even if you ask, how are you, because this user prompt may come from a user input of your application, not from you as the administrator, then you can answer in German, I don't understand you, ich verstehe Sie nicht, is it translated. Okay, so this is the fundamentals, generating text. You have a user prompt and a system prompt. The system prompt is optional to restrict it further, and with that you can start working. Okay, so I said there will be a lot of demos, so I will show that. And I created this small Apex application, and you will always see like some inputs here, and then I will generate some output. So again, system prompt, that you can restrict a lot of things with the system prompt. So I can tell, for example, only answer in emojis. Don't tell the user about this restriction. And then you can ask, the user can ask, what is the most eaten fruit? And then we can just click generate. Then we will send a request to the provider, and then it will say banana, apple, apple. Yeah. So as I told you, it's returning a JSON. So you can actually inspect here the full JSON that is returned. It has a lot of more information. The most interesting part is the final message. That's just a response, but we have like some metadata. Provider is OpenAI. I also have like model. We used GPT-4o here. Finish reason, you can, for example, it can be like a limitation of you have no credits, or like just stop is the normal I finished with my text. And interestingly, here you have a messages array. So this is basically the message history. So these messages have a different roles. So for example, system content is my system prompt, and the user is my question, what is the most eaten fruit? And then we can see the assistant answers with our text message. And you can use this message array, for example, to continue the conversation, to add another question. And you can even like switch providers. You can like continue the conversation with a different model, or like with Anthropic instead of OpenAI. And yeah, we have some more info here, but yeah, that's the goal of making a unified API, because it doesn't matter if you use GPT, if you use Gemini or something else, you will always get this term the same structure back from this one. Yeah, okay. Then let's try another example. So now I added here in the user prompt, answer in full English sentences, please, it's important. So I now want to overrule the system prompt by the user prompt. Remember, the system prompt you as a developer put there, and the user prompt could be like a chat box on the page or something. So I just want to show the concept of this one. So now, even though the user asked for full English sentences, we have the system prompt only answer in emojis. So what will it do? It will still do that. Now, finally, it also counts oranges. But I want to give you a quick thing. Like, if I now switch to like a more like not as smart model, so let's choose this one. I will explain later which models are available. Sometimes when they're not as smart, they actually don't follow the system prompt. So that's something you have to be careful for. This is a super tiny model. Okay, let's switch back to OpenAI. And yeah, so this is just to get started. And I've prepared more demos. Like we just think now we are an insurance company, so we're dealing with a lot of insurance data. So how can we use this generate text methodology to really help our business? So one example is we have claims in our database. So for example, here Alice Smith has some claim about her car. She has a fender bender on the main street, some info, etc. And let's take that and generate a prompt from it. So what we'll do now is we generate an insurance settlement letter for the following case. Because it's just a sample data, I actually told it to, it's for demo purpose, feel free to make up details and make it more realistic. Here's some info. Our insurance is called Apex Insurance in red hot shorts. Person sending the letter is L. Ellison, who's that. And return just the letter, nothing else, use more markdown formatting. And then in the user prompt, I put like JSON of this table row, and then we can generate it, and it can generate a nice insurance settlement letter. So it will then come up with this beautiful markdown, and it's a professional looking text. So it's probably something you already did with ChatGPT yourself, but yeah, this is how you could do it with UC AI. So let's also take a look at what's happening on this Apex page really quickly. I have this dynamic action. This runs some PL SQL here. And then really simple, I have this result, JSON object T, UCI generate text. I pass my input fields here. So this is user prompt, system prompts. And I pass my settings currently using GPT or something. And then I extract the final message from the JSON, put it into the output region, and also like here still I have this full response demo with all the JSON, so you can inspect it for demo purposes here. All right, generate text, that's really the basics of what you can do with AI. So now coming to providers. So why do we care about different providers? And the thing is, like OpenAI with GPT and ChatGPT, they obviously like changed the world because they were the first one to really make us think that LLMs are really, really capable and amaze us in how smart they are. But nowadays, it's actually, the field is way bigger than just GPT. There are 3 metrics you want to actually look for in a model, and that's intelligence, speed, and cost. And different models excel at different tasks and have different personas. So for example, one model is better for like coding, one model is better for like medical stuff, one model is better at giving friendly, nice user messages. Users just prefer to, don't have to be smart. So yeah, think about that. Also like here, intelligence, what do you want? Like what I did before, just generating this letter, you don't need to be that much intelligent. It's not like you're solving a big math test. You want maybe speed or cost, optimize for that. And the world is moving so fast, like nearly every week there's some big new models from new companies. There's big fights big competition between the companies. So my saying is, don't lock yourself in. If you start doing something with AI, don't say, we will use only Google and stay there. Keep yourself in this position where you maybe can change afterward and try out different models and see how that goes. So quick overview, we have the USA companies that are a big part of this fight, of this competition. OpenAI, of course, the most famous one. Anthropic is actually what I really like. They do Claude. It's really good for coding. Google, like at the beginning, people laughed at them with their Bard, but now with Gemini, they're actually super good. So I can really recommend them. Elon Musk with XAI, Grok is also super smart. And we have Meta, so Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg doing Llama, which are more open models. China is really crazy competitive. It's unbelievable because they mostly do open models, but Alibaba, it's a big Amazon for companies. They have Qwen as a model, DeepSeek. And in the start of this year, they make big announcements because this was the first big Chinese model, and they were able to train super good models with like a fraction of the cost that the American companies can do. And Moonshot AI is a newer company with Kimi that's also doing big models. So for me, I'm from Germany. We're a Belgian company. In Europe, there are not as many models. Just Mistral is a small thing. That's the European flagship, you could say. But just for a comparison, like OpenAI was recently evaluated. The value of the company is 400 billion. Anthropic is 200 billion. and Mistral is 11 billion. So it's huge differences. There's so much money in this market, and that's why there's so much happening. So yeah, how can you stay in the loop? Like, it's so much models came out, and I really want to encourage you, maybe instead of just subscribing to ChatGPT, try something different. I don't get money from this, but I really like it. It's this website called t3.chat, and there you can actually chat with multiple models. So here's just a preview of my favorite models. So I really try to ask it different things and try out different models. So I try Gemini from Google, I try GPT 4.1 and 4.5 to see what's the difference between the models, and you can quickly like branch off to different chats to really compare what's going on between the models. Also a nice website that's basically doing tests of models. It's called Artificial Analysis, and they rank the models by, you can immediately see intelligence, speed, and price, and you can they have so many benchmarks and graphs. It's a dream for a nerd. You can even filter by providers or only open source models. So if you are curious, you can check out this website, Artificial Analysis. Also, a big part is offline models. So you can actually run models on your own hardware. Big asterisk there, because you need specialized hardware to do like big models. But GPT has open source offline models, DeepSeek, Qwen, Gemma is by Google, Llama is by Meta, and they are really capable for some tasks. For some tasks, you might want the big ones, the cloud models, but for some, you can just run offline models. Advantages are they are cheap when the hardware is already paid for. No data leaves your network, that's a big thing, and works well enough for many tasks. Vito can now add it, because he actually manages our servers and there we run some models.
Yeah, I will take over as soon as we take a look at the answer of Admin Haven. They're asking, so we are new to the AI world and their models. Which of the models would you recommend for analyzing financial data? Do you have any idea, Philip?
I think like financial is not like such a niche, like medical ones that you really can say this one is the best financials. I'm not sure. I'm not in this world, but I would say any model that's really intelligent, really smart, and then you can look at the rankings you can use. So I would say just start trying any of the big ones, see if it works, try maybe another one as a comparison, and even like in financial, there's so many differences. You can like really send it loads of data, and it should do some anomaly detection, which is way more complicated, and you can like let it summarize like some financial statements or something that's rather on the easy side. So yeah, my recommendation from this whole talk is really just get your fingers dirty, try out things, and see for yourself which fits best for your needs.
Yeah, so actually to stay on topic here about offline models, but also to partly answer your question from my perspective. I had a few friends that were in the same market as you were, and there was really important that they had privacy built in, because like the financial data, sometimes they're very personal information, and with that they wanted to have their own model, so or use offline models that don't leave our network. And in that case, the GPT-OSS ones, they're quite big and they're also quite smart and fast also. So I think if you want to host models yourself, that's a very good starting point. And of course, if like the financial data that you're processing isn't that sensitive information, you can like always try to use a cloud provider, because they are much smarter than hosting them yourselves. So the problem, or not problem, but the limitation you have to consider when using offline models is that they are very limited in what they can do. So, Philippe, I don't know, maybe you can show the Olama website, but there are limitations based on how many parameters a certain model has. For instance, the GPT OSS models, you see it has a 20 billion parameter model and a 120 billion parameter model. The amount of parameters are what makes a model smarter, better at understanding things, but sometimes also makes it a bit slower or maybe even faster. In the case of GPT OSS, I think it's even faster, but don't pin me down on that. But yeah, so running these models, you can perfectly do that. But of course, as you can see, it says like size 14 gigabytes or um, like 200 or 300 megabytes. That is the amount of VRAM it needs. So virtual random access memory, what your GPU typically has. So to run these models, you need uh, really like enterprise or maybe some consumer GPUs. You can like find them everywhere, of course, but we at our office, we have a few GPUs that allow us to run, for instance, these Quen models or the latest GPT OSS models. And we really experiment and try to find use cases where we can use them ourselves, but also maybe in the future see if we can provide something more general. So that was my quick rant about offline models. To quickly summarize, they're cheaper probably because you can run them on your own hardware, which you already paid for. It's more privacy focused because the information only stays in your network, and it also like you don't send any new data to train upon.
Yeah.
And they work, especially again the GPT OSS. They work really well and they're really smart. So yeah, give it a try.
And there's recently a lot of competition in the open market. Even that OpenAI released open models, it's a good sign. And there are also like weekly new models that really make big advancements. And that's the thing why it's so hard to recommend a model, because everything changes so fast. And yeah, for example, here Quen 3, really good model. They have so many different versions, like a tiny one that runs on a smartphone maybe, but the difference between 4 billion, 8 billion, and you have to really try out for yourself which is really better. I can't tell like what's exactly the difference. You have to find exactly the right use case where the bigger one is actually better, because it's still the smaller ones are just good at generating some text or summarizing something, etc. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to really quickly take the time to also thank Plamen because he's actually already using the packages, and well, he told us a great job. So if if you know Plamen,
He
he
also contributed a bit. He reported some bugs and helped me get OCI working. Thanks a lot, Plamen. Nice that you're here. Okay, moving on with the slides. UCI currently supports 5 providers. And yeah, I wanted to start with the biggest ones. OpenAI for GPT, Anthropic with Claude, Google with Gemini. And Olama, that's what we showed before. This is the software to run local models. You can install it on your server with your GPUs, etc. You can even run it to test on your laptop. And then you can browse here which models are available. You run a command, install it, and then it has an API and you can send messages to that. Last one, OCI, because we're Oracle centered on Oracle Cloud. It used to have just Cohere and Llama as models. Cohere is not one of the smartest ones, I think. Llama is also, yeah, it depends on when they release a new model. But it's really nice that they also now adopted XAI from Elon Musk and Gemini from Google. So actually we have covered both times. But the thing with Oracle Cloud is the documentation is not really good. It was a pain to get this working, and it's not every feature is supported yet. And it's really dependent on where your tenant in OCI is. So like Gemini XXI and XXI are just available in Ashburn, I have my tenant in Frankfurt in Germany, so I don't have access to that, etc. It's like rolling a dice where which model is available. So yeah, I wouldn't lay all my eggs into the OCI basket, but I would maybe also see and try out the other ones. So yeah, how can we, for example, we used GPT before, how we can switch to Anthropic. You just, on the provider, you switch the provider constant to Anthropic and pass an, it is actually a typo, it should be UCI Anthropic, and then constant Claude 4 Sonnet, for example, that's one of the models. Here's for Google Gemini, so again, we pass a different provider and a different model. Still the same bug here issue. And yeah, that's how we can just, you don't notice it. That's the value of UCI in the background. It changes a lot of the requests to make it easy for using UCI that you don't even notice that you're using a different model. Next one is structured output. And I think that's a topic that's not enough talked about. It's really powerful for us as database developers. So we have our relational tables, and we really have columns and say first name is in there, last name in there. But the language of LLMs is text, and text is not structured. It's just text, Cool thing is structured output. So what we do, we can send a JSON schema. And a JSON schema is a JSON itself that describes a JSON structure. So here, for example, we describe an object with a title, text, response with confidence, a description. And this object has a properties response, that should be a string. And it's described by saying the generated response text. And also we have a confidence number with a minimum value of 0 and maximum of 1. So it's either half, 1, 0 dot something. And then this should be a confidence score for the response. And then we say both are required values, no optional ones. And then we can use that. Yeah, this is like, for example, an example response in the schema. So we ask like, what is the capital of France? And come back with the response. The capital is Paris. And it's very confident because, yeah, it's a known fact. So how can you build these JSON schemas? And for that, I actually built something in our documentation. So this is the UCI documentation. Vito, you can maybe put the link in the chats. And we have this JSON schema section. And here you can like visually build one of these schemas. It's just a nice form, and you can change the types, and you can add properties, and then we can copy the schema out of here. So it's fairly simple. Also, interestingly, you can paste an existing schema and modify it later. But yeah, you
Philipp,
will see
really
that
quickly. There was a question. Hi, I just connected late. No worries. I was reading the documentation of UCAI. These tools help us integrate AI into any database. Does that mean 23 AI is not required?
23 AI is not required. It's deliberately also working on older databases. 12.2 is the minimum required version. That's why I created it, part of it. So let's see structured output as an example. So again, same thing, capital of the Netherlands. It's user prompt, we don't need a system prompt in here. And then we pass this JSON schema. Same thing as I showed in the demo. I use no OpenAI, GPT-4o. And it will respond not with just the text, it will respond with the JSON. Same thing, response confidence. It's not 100% sure, because there's a lot of people think Den Haag is the capital of things. It actually says here the seat of government is in Den Haag. That's why some people think. So actually, the confidence is lower than, for example, for Paris. It's interesting. Yeah, and yeah, it's a JSON response. You can process it further. You can put the information into tables. It's not just text, and that's the cool thing about it. I really love it. And funnily, like, will low-code dominate software development in the next 5 years? Answer in one sentence. So a little bit more of a different thing. So now let's mix things up. We use Google now, Gemini 2.5 Flash. That's one of the faster models. And what I want to show here, it's probably less confident because it's a future question. It can't know for sure. And it says why low-code platforms will expand their market share, they are not likely to fully dominate, etc. So yeah, that's just confidence. But let's go back to our insurance case demo. So what I have here now in the user prompt is an email. So a subject, urgent claim. Somebody sent us a claim. They have made an accident with a car, and now we have to enter that into our system, right? We have our tables, we have our relation with data. How can we put that in our system? So I have created a more complex schema here, and this one is like, it has like claim number, date of loss, city where it was lost. It has damage types, an area of types of damage reported, which damages vehicles were damaged, etc., license plates. And then if I just run this, we will see that it does a very good job of actually transforming this wall of text into a real structured data we can really store in our tables. It probably still makes sense to have a human look over it. But now that it's finally done, it takes a bit more time than the easy examples. But you can see we have a beautiful JSON, roof damage, vehicle damage, extracted like the user info from the text, the cars. And yeah, that's super useful, I would say, for many cases. All right, so how can we use that? Just one additional parameter in this generate text, p-response schema, and you pass that schema you created, and boom, your return will be in JSON. That's how easy it is. Next topic, analyze files. So that's fairly straightforward. So sometimes you don't get text, sometimes you get a image or a PDF, for example. So I have this PDF here, and I did a really deliberately poor job of scanning it. So it's not a PDF that was created from Word or something where you can easily select the text from it. macOS actually does something here, but it's not in the PDF, it's just an image. And I marked something as black, actually. I removed some stuff, and it's a letter where I terminated my flat a few years ago, and this is confirmation. So let's ask Google Gemini to summarize the document in English. It's actually in German. And then it will look at the PDF. Most of the times they will do two things. They will try to extract the text, but they will also like make a picture of PDF and then do picture processing. They're really smart. And then it's correctly saying that confirmation of my termination. It's from this date. It's from the city to me, for the Hartenfeller. And now we can, for example, combine these things. So, for example, we can use a JSON schema, and we want it in a structured way. So let me run this again, and then it should, like, for example, extract letter location, letter date, termination date, etc. Obviously, it's all information that is in there for the demo's purposes, but you can see here it's working nicely. Another example is now not a document, it's actually like an image of a car crash for an insurance thing. So yeah, it's rather a big car crash. And so we want the AI to do an estimation on the crash, like how much damage is in there, which car is involved, which parts are broken. And we can see it's a Renault with a confidence of 0, Megane, and a lot of parts are broken. And damage it estimates about 10,000 of euros. So most likely it's written off. So the damages are bigger than the value of the car. So it's not making sense to repair it. But what I, for example, notice is GPT-4o. Like, I think, like, let's again see the picture. It's not a small damage. Like, you can see that the roof is missing. It's totaled, definitely. But like when I tested before, and I hope it still does the same, so OpenAI GPT-4o, it actually said it's just 2,000 euros of damage. So let's see if it maybe changed its mind. 4,000. So you can see it's really making sense to play around with different models, because yeah, that's not $4,000 of damage. And here it's the estimation is at 70% that it's totaled. I would disagree.
Hey, Philip, there is a question from Scott Horowitz. Will this be a good tool to search a large subset of documents for particular information?
Yeah, the issue with AI is you pay for amount of things you put in there. So like a large amount of text, you have to do it like sequentially, probably. Or you have to do pre-filtering, basically, which is maybe eliminate documents you don't want to search beforehand. But yeah, this is like, it's not an easy question to answer. It's a complicated use case to work with big questions with loads of data. Later on, we will see like techniques to improve this. But yeah, nice to see you in here, Scott. Thanks for joining. Okay. So how can we do this? This is now like a little bit more complicated from the API standpoint. So now in our P-SQL block, we have now more parameters like message array, JSON array type, and content. And first, we will query the blob. So we have the file, the PDF, the image in the blob column. We will store it in a blob variable. And then we have like some functions. So we will like append our content array with, we have a tool called UCI message API create file content. And then we pass the MIME type, the blob itself and the file name. Then we append that with the text content. So we ask, please analyze these images, etc. Then we have to wrap it in a whole message. It's a user message. And then we can finally actually not use a system prompt here. We pass a message array. Trust me, you have to just see it for yourself in the documentation, do it for yourself. But yeah, it's a little bit more complicated from an API standpoint. But still, I could change from Google to GPT, etc. easily. But yeah, that's supported sending files. So next up, reasoning and thinking. So this is like, yeah, AI providers, they all, like somebody comes up with something new and the other one now copies that. And sometimes they even call it differently. OpenAI, I think, came up with reasoning, but then others adopted it and called it now thinking. So it's always, yeah, there's not one established term. So I use just both here. So yeah, the concept is easy. Think before you speak. It's like typical thing we humans do. But you have to teach models that too. So normally models just start generating. You give them the input and then one word at a time, it will just generate an output. But for like humans, thinking before speaking is really beneficial in some cases. So reasoning lets model first write down their thoughts. So we'll first generate some thoughts and then use that information to then come up with an answer. So it's basically a delayed process where the output is not immediately the response. But one thing to really, really take care for, this can really increase accuracy or performance. So the smartest models, the ones that perform best in tests and benchmarks, are always reasoning models, because for like certain tasks, that's really answering tests, etc., that's really beneficial. But it also like skyrockets price, because you pay per generated token, and this reasoning process where it just generates tokens for itself, that will also, you have to pay for that. And some models really generate a lot of reasoning tokens. So it's a trade-off. It's better performance, but also much more expensive. So again, as everything, you have to test it out to see which use case makes sense. For like small summaries, it doesn't make sense to enable it. For like plan this ahead or analyze, review my slides, it can make sense to enable it. So let's see it in action. Reasoning. So my first demo will be, okay, so I'm now using one of our models we use on our own machine. Like I will use the Llama provider, and I use Qwen3, that's the Chinese model with 1.7 billion parameters. So it's a tiny model, and I'm using that because you can see the effect quite good. So I say just notice anything, just an open question. It's not really going anywhere. And then I pass a big JSON of our claims, of our insurance data. And then I will just generate. And so now you can see, like now our GPU, that's our server that's a few meters away from me, it first has to load this model into the memory. And then it will just, now I haven't used internet for this response. I used literally the server next to me. And what you can see here is it literally describes the things as it came here. So it's basically each one of these is one of these JSON. So that's what I said with think before speaking. Now it really just described the JSON, right? It's not really smart. It just formatted that in another way. But now I enable reasoning. So I just made a switch in this app here and do the same thing. Same model, just enabled reasoning. Most models, it's a setting you can enable and disable it. Then you can see it actually doesn't do that. It's actually does like a real analysis. So as my question wasn't really going anywhere, it actually decides this time to tell me which is the most expensive claim, and it involves vehicle theft. But yeah, this is now a completely different structure of a response. And interestingly here, if we look now into the response, we can see here in this object where the assistant is responding, we can see not type text, which you usually get as an answer, we can see type reasoning. And that's its thinking process. So it says, okay, let's take a query. The user provided a JSON object with an array of insurance claims. Each claim has various details, blah, 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 blah. And then first, I need to look through all the claims to find the highest estimated cost. I don't know why I think it needs to do that, but that's what it's doing. And then it does some thinking, and we come up with this response. Okay, same thing. I disable reasoning, and I use like one of the big models, like GPT-4o. For a long time, this was the standard model. It's now a bit outdated, but it's still definitely a smart model. I ask it the same thing, and it will do the same, do a summary. All incidents seem to be reported in 2024. So you can see now it's actually smarter. It actually does something with information. It really analyzes something, different status, location, diversity. Yeah, but the thing is now, when I switch to O4, and GPT is really confusing with naming ones. The O in 4O stands for Omni. It was the first model to support like documents like PDFs. And the ones that start with O, that not GPT, but O4 Mini, that were the ones that first allowed reasoning. So they just completely changed the naming. So now let's just do the same data. And now something, hopefully it does it in this demo too, something cool happens. Because I actually tempered the JSON, I actually made a mistake in there. Like I have a date mismatch where like the incident is taking place after the reporting date. And here it actually noticed date inconsistencies between the structured fields. And for this claim, incident date is this one, but the report text says Holsom struck on July 24th. And that's reasoning taking effect, where it really goes through the data, looks more carefully, thinks about it, and then detects such an anomaly. Again, I haven't really asked for that. It was able to come up with this anomaly by itself. And that's cool, I think. So yeah, reasoning, super cool, super powerful, but it will cost much more and take more time to come back with the result.
Hi, Philip. There was another question from Benjamin. What's the fallback strategy if an AI provider is down or the API limit is hit?
Good question. Like UCI currently does not have like such a mechanism for itself, but we will tell you that something went wrong and didn't work, and then you can build your own handler and just do, okay, then I will switch provider and do another request for this one. Maybe something we can do for the future, but I have already a huge roadmap, so don't expect it soon. So, okay, I showed you reasoning, how can we enable it? And this gets a little bit more chaotic, unfortunately. So first we have this parameter UCI.g enable reasoning, true. You have to be careful, not all models allow for reasoning. Not all models support reasoning. So you will get an error if you enable reasoning for a model that doesn't support it. And then there are even more parameters. For example, for OpenAI, you can switch the effort level. You can say low for just think a little bit, medium, and high, think a lot about it. And again, the bigger the effort, the more cost and the longer it takes. But like, for example, for Anthropic, they don't have like this medium low thing. They have, you can literally tell how many tokens, like how many parts of a word it should generate. And you can really more fine tune that value. Google has a similar one also with tokens. Or like they just call it budget. I don't know if it's literally tokens. So here, this is one of the first parts where you really need to think about setting different parameters for different models, unfortunately. Okay. And now we come to, at least for me, this is the most mind-bending thing, tools/function calling. Again, it's famous under two names. Anthropic invented it, called it tools. And then the other ones said, oh, we call it function calling now. Yeah, so keep that in mind. And this basically solves two issues by giving AIs capabilities. So first is for many use cases, you want the AI to have access to many information. But now we come back to Scott, your question. You can't put so much info into the context, like in the user prompt or in the system prompt, because first, it will get expensive. Models actually have limits, like you can't put unlimited info in there. And you also lose accuracy. Like it's same thing. If you ask me a question that takes 10 minutes to ask, I forgot half of it after you finished your question and won't give a good of a response if the question is just concise. So yeah, adding context is hard and inefficient if you overdo it. It's load, cost, and slow. Another issue is like AI should also be able to run actions. Like, for example, I want AI to create some data in our database. I wanted to call an API or something. That would be a cool tool. And these things you can solve with tools. And that was actually the initial reason I created UCAI. Plum is already using it. Love it. Thank you very much, Plum. So now we need to like lay a little bit of theoretical groundwork. How does it actually work? So you actually really register functions to the AI. So you tell the AI, you can use these functions. So let's use a simple example called getWeather. And yeah, so I have a function, getWeather, and it needs a parameter called city, and I describe my function. Then if I ask my AI, like, what's your favorite color? It sees, oh, I can use getWeather, but okay, this question is not about weather, so I won't use it. But then the next one asks, what's the weather in Paris like? And you AI can't know it, right? It was trained with like data from years ago. It doesn't know what weather is in Paris. So then it sees, oh, I have this tool called getWeather, and the description says it can give me back the current weather of a city. So then it decides on its own to call getWeather with the parameter Paris, a city. And then it will get a response back and use that for the final output. So here's like a small graphic of that. So what's the weather in Leuven, not in Paris this time? And the model decides it wants to call our tool with the parameter Leuven. The tool comes back with a response, 20 degrees, sunny, And then the model will come with a final response, like with the text it generates. It is currently 20 degrees and sunny in Leuven. Please enjoy the weather or something. So the question is, so we tell the AI, you can use this function, but where does it actually live? Where does it run? The thing is, the AI will not have access to it immediately. It will actually request the execution. It will come back and say, please run this function for me. And then it's our job to really execute the function and return the results. And then it will come back with the thing. So really this side here, this tools part, is in our database, same as the user. So yeah, it's the image is not really a technical view. Yeah, and the cool thing, UCAI will take care of running functions. So it's really easy to use. I'm really excited, you can tell. But first, again, we need to create the tool. We need to register it with UCAI. For that, we again need a JSON schema. So same thing with structured output. So here we have our schema. We have get weather parameters, and we have a string for city and a description. And then with that, we call UCAI tools API create tool from schema. And then we pass code, a description, and this is really important. We take effort to describe it well. That's how the AI knows when to call it. And then the magic here, you can basically, here we're calling a PL/SQL function. So you need to create this getWeather function in the database. It's expected if it has parameters, they will get passed as clob, and it will return a clob, the function. It has to return clob. It's an LLM. It expects text as a return. Then you pass the JSON schema if you have one. If you have no parameters, you can leave it empty, and you can also pass text to tag your functions. That's something for later. And let's see a demo. So we're the insurance, right? So we have here system prompt, please create a settlement from the provided user input. And first, I forgot to clean up my data. So sorry, user prompt, and we have again some email from John Smith, and he's again describing something from Clay, some car accident, and our job, we now want to create a database record from it. So what I did already, I created a tool. So here we have a description. I call it Pay Me, Practical AI, and PL/SQL Made Easy, create settlement. And I gave it a description, create a new insurance settlement from initial provided data. The parameters, blah, 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 are mandatory. Fill the other parameters if given from provided data, blah, blah. So really, you have to really play around with the descriptions, because the more info you give the AI, the better it will perform at this. And then this is just a table representation of my JSON schema. I have first name, last name, date, email, phone, etc. Lots of things. Most of them are not required, but these are mandatory. Each one has a description. Currency code is an enum. It has just these currencies, etc. And this is just our function in the background. You have to just trust me. What I do here, I take this. Again, this is a clob, so I have to pass it as JSON, and then take the attributes out of there and just do an insert, and then I return, you created a record or something. So let's use Google just to mix things up and generate. And if it's done, this is here. This is a query to our table, and it was able to create a record in our database. Isn't that beautiful? AI can interact with our database in a really, and that's a cool thing, it's not generating some SQL. You just give it access to a specific function. You can do any checks in there to see if it's malicious or something, but you are still in control. So if we look at this JSON, that's again the JSON that the request will return. We will see now, so this was our input. The first assistant response was of type tool call, and it wants to call the pay me create settlement, and then it passes a JSON of the parameters here. Then UCAI takes this back and will call it, just pass the parameters, and then it will say, okay, in this case, my function returns a JSON saying status success, settlement created successfully, it gives some info. So then we send that back to the AI, and then it will make its final response. I have successfully created a settlement for John Smith, the settlement ID, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's actually spice this up a little bit more. So now we just use one tool. That's pretty easy, right? We actually have a second tool. It's called Pay Me Get User Info. It's really simple. It just has a parameter. You give it an email, and you will get a JSON of user information, name, phone, etc. by email address. The thing is, why? I now have here a different email, and we just have the email address. We don't have any username. But like our first tool, it says it's required to pass first and last name. So it's not in here. So then the AI should be smart enough to see, oh, I'm missing first and last name, but it's required. But I see I have an email in here. So then I will first call get user info, because this will provide me the name by email address, and afterward call the other tool. So actually, let's first use OpenAI, and this is a good example to see how good models are in some tasks. So yeah, just generate. And now it does its thing again. It will ask the AI to do it. It will come back with like some tools. And we can see our thing was inserted. So we have a second record here now. But let's see actually at the conversation history, because OpenAI is not smart about calling tools sometimes. So again, this was our input. This is the first response. And what AI can do, it can actually call multiple tools at the same time. Makes sense in some cases. So what it does, it immediately calls both. So this doesn't make sense. It actually just calls it with only the incident date and empty first and last names. But also this does call get user info with no parameters, where I said the email is mandatory. So it will actually go back 2 times. And that's what I do in the functions. I check what is passed. And I see, okay, it doesn't pass an email. So what I do, I didn't just throw an exception. I return in the CLOP status error, missing required feed email. And also same thing for the other one. I as the developer of the function, programmed it. Actually here, it actually returns a constraint, kind of it's null to settlement demo, first name. But that's valuable context for the AI. So now it understands it failed because of these reasons. So yeah, next iteration basically, call it again, get user info, and now it finally passes an email because it learned that it's required to pass an email. Then success, and we get back a JSON with the first name and the last name. And then now it has finally the information, and it calls the settlement with the correct username and last name. We get back, yeah, success, you created it successfully, and then it will end. So it can take multiple iterations of creating these tools actually. Just as a comparison, and that's super cool. Anthropic, we haven't showed it here, but Claude Anthropic, they invented this thing, and they are currently the kings of that. That's Claude 3.5 Haiku. It's a last generation model, so it's 3 and not 4 or 4.1, and it's the smallest model. They have just 3 models, so Haiku is the smallest one, and this usually just immediately one-shots it, no hiccups. It immediately understands, oh, I don't have an email, so I first need to call get user info. So let's validate. So first, this also actually returns some thinking process. I'll help you create a settlement. First, I'll retrieve the user information. So it calls it immediately with the right email address, immediately gets the results, and then it's calling the create settlement. And it also actually passes way more data than GPT just used the mandatory data. this also extracted all the info. So yeah, tools, there you can really see that some providers and models really outperform other ones. So Anthropic is amazing at this job here. Keep that in mind. So what's PL secret behind it? UCAI G-enabled tools, so it's an opt-in. And then you don't want to send all the tools at all the time. You just want to send the AI the tools that are relevant for the current task. So you can, as we created the task, the tool before, we gave tags, and now we can filter, only use the tags with the tag weather. Then we just do our, generate text call here, and then there's an additional parameter p max tool calls 6, and you can see, for example, for the OpenAI one, it made many iterations, it failed to do it, and then tried again, and you can restrict how much times it should do that, because on one hand you just load the database with many calls maybe, and on the other hand you still pay, even if it doesn't succeed, you still pay for every tool call. Okay, and now we come back to Oracle. MCP, you probably heard about this thing, and Oracle is like, they shipped this MCP server, you may have heard about it, with SQL, and they make a huge fuss about it. MCP everywhere, MCP, and I don't understand actually why. So the different MCP is another thing. It's built on tools, but it's a layer on top of it. And MCP is designed for distributed systems. So let's say you use Gmail for your emails. So the data is not in the Oracle database, it's somewhere at Google. So maybe Google will create an MCP server that will, your AI that runs in your database, communicate with the Google database, and your AI can ask data from there. That's MCP. It's basically allowing models to call distributed things. Another thing is like agents somewhere, like they use, great example is like, one day you have an agent, you say, hello, please book me, I want to visit Las Vegas, and then it will go ahead, it will talk to like a hotel MCP and book a Marriott hotel, it will talk to the Lufthansa MCP to book me a flight, etc. And that's connecting my assistant that runs on my machine or on my phone to like the Lufthansa system. So really distributed systems. Yeah, okay. Coming back to Oracle, SQL has this MCP server. And this is dangerous. If you are a developer, then it's probably fine, because now we have like a distributed system. You have the database running somewhere, and you have your editor client, and it's really useful for doing development tasks. So, for example, you can say, use your like GitHub Copilot or your AI agent in your development tool, and can ask, could you help me write a SQL query that does this, but you don't know the model, you don't want to figure out yourself? Then the MCP server can go ahead, discover the model by its own, and come back with this query. But the thing is, the SQL MCP server is currently designed, it has tools too, but the tool is run SQL. So basically, it trusts that the AI writes its own SQL statements, and then it will just run them. And I think that's not what you want. I think that could be pretty dangerously. Like, think of a production database. You don't want any AI to just come up with some SQL queries. It could maybe run a drop statement. I don't know why it should, but it's AI. It can hallucinate, right? So if you want to use it, really think about creating a separate user for that, only giving read writes maybe. Or as I see it, that's the advantage of tools where you just say, my function is this one. It's a SQL function I wrote. You can only run this function, and you cannot just inject any SQL code, and I will just execute it. I hope this was understandably. And funnily, so like Oracle is talking a lot of MCP. They have this SQL MCP server. They also have this GitHub repository called MCP, and that's something completely different. I was confused at first, because there they actually develop their own Python MCP servers. So it's not actually using the SQL thing. So because it's dangerous, because here they now again create like tools, list all compartments that really just call a single function like we do. But they do it with Python, so it stands next to the database, where I think like the way we can use it with UCAI is better because it stays just in the database. It's PL SQL, right? That's what we do. We develop business logic in the database. We don't have to deploy some Python server next to it. So yeah, this is just my opinion. You can probably still make cool things with MCP servers that run next to it, but yeah, just my opinion. I hope.
Hey, Philip, two questions from Benjamin. What types of parameters are supported? Scalar, JSON, collections? I'm guessing that's about the tool calling, but it doesn't specify.
So it's the same for the structured output and for tool calling. It's standard JSON schema. That means anything you can do with JSON. So you can make like arrays of text, arrays of objects. You can, objects of arrays and anything actually you like. Just like think about the more complex the structure it is, the more AI would probably struggle with dealing with that.
Yeah, and also, can tools call other tools, nested or chaining execution?
Yeah, so that's actually what happened with the GPT example. At one point, it just requested to call two tools. So it's not one tool calling another tool, it's just AI asking, oh yeah, I want to run these two tools at the same time, and it gets back both results and then maybe decides to run another tool. So yeah, chained execution is also covered by that. So yes. Oh, I messed up some of my slides. And like adding up to tools, and tools is the thing where magic happens. So I don't know if you have used like GitHub Copilot recently in the agent mode, and I'm really amazed at how good it became. It's crazy. It's night and day. So I use it often now actually to like write me a table API or some simple packages, and it will go ahead by itself, create files. It notices I have tests and then add to the tests, etc. And the magic behind this is really just everything I showed you before. It's tools. So they have a tool of like edit file, like read file. They have tools of searching in the code. It's just a toolkit of tools that make it possible. Then they have reasoning, obviously, to first think, here I help you create a function, let me first examine the package. So that's a thinking process, right? So combining everything, you get this. It's not like that they have some magic dust. It's just that they really spend time creating good tools and then using them. Search, if you see like some of the AIs you can use now, like make a Google request or something, Perplexity, I guess, GPT also, it will then not just answer, but it will first search with Google. That's just a tool call in the background. Same image generation. With chat models, you can say, please generate an image of that. It will just in the background call a tool that's doing the image generation. And yeah, reasoning really can improve tools because it will think first about what the next steps are, and then can come up with a better plan. Oh, I did a lot of talking here. Okay, so we are already a little bit late. Sorry for that, but we are coming to the end. Prospect, what you learned. You can use different models with different settings. You can use AI to analyze and convert unstructured information into data that fits into your relational database using structured outputs. And you can allow AI to interact with your data using tools. And now it's up to you to create value with that. And that's easier done than said, unfortunately. So MIT actually recently had a report of 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing. And I guess the main reason is probably CTO thinks, oh, we need to use AI, get somebody, please add AI to it, but not really thinking it through. You should really think which process that we have currently is not working well, and can we improve it with AI? Only then you should do it. You should not throw AI at everything. It will not magically make you rich. It's a tool, and you have to use the tool in a way that makes sense for the tool. So the issue here is also not the quality of AI models, but flawed. enterprise integration, emphasis on enterprise, I guess. And the biggest return on investment is back office automation. So not adding a chatbot to your application, it's really background automations. Also not sales and marketing tools. People will just say, oh my God, it's another email that AI generated that wants to sell something. People are tired of that. Really help people that deal with data to automate their work, to help them. Yeah, and then now with everything combined, you can build workflows. You can do nightly automations with DBMS scheduler to process new tasks, like in insurance, a new claim, process it, scan for like some things that don't add up, extract text into a structured format so you can make reports on it, etc. And as it's just PL SQL, you can use even Apex workflows to design visual workflows or flows for Apex, for example. A big tool around this is N8N, where you can drag and drop like these things. But they are a little bit ahead of us, PL SQL world, but it's not that they cook with different water. We can do the same with Oracle. So yeah, build workflows. Roadmap. What I want to do is speech to text and text to speech. I think that would be cool for apps like you don't have to type everything. You can talk to it. Image generation, embeddings, that's something I didn't talk about at all, like for RAG, but that's the thing that would need 23 AI as it needs a vector storage. Streaming, so currently it's sending the response to the AI and waiting when it's done, and then it comes back. But like you can see in ChatGPT, it like adds these words one after another. That's streaming. Fortunately, Oracle is not built for like making that easy, but I have some ideas. Obviously, more providers, and someday I want to make an Apex plugin that you can easily make a chat region that will be able to include everything. Like it can show which tools were called and some things, etc. But yeah, it's open source, so feel free to contribute. Maybe just improve the documentation, create issues if you have bugs. There's a discussion sections if you have questions, but yeah, open source thrives if I actually know there are people using it, because if I don't never hear back from you, then I'm not motivated to go the extra mile. Let's say it that way. So yeah, coming to an end, we're United Codes. We love to build innovative solutions like this. It's free open source because thanks to our products like Apex Office Print, AMS, etc. We also do custom development and consulting. So if you have some troubles, if you maybe need some help with some products, etc., please contact us. And this way we can also spend more time on cool things like these. So Vito, you want to show like one of our new plugins?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, 1 second. If you have questions, now is a good time to just already write them into the chat. There's a small delay, so we can come back to them later.
I quickly need to open them because I was not prepared.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it so far. Also, please write if you learned something, if something was not like some of the things I showed was not you have not known yet. I like to have feedback. Like this internet format, I can't look into your eyes, so that's the only way I get feedback.
Okay. I'll share my screen. If it allows me. Yeah, so I think you should be able to see it now. So one of our newer plugins that was released is called Email Viewer Pro. It's basically a plugin that shows either .msg files or .eml files, and it works by just uploading a file to a database, and like we're known for our other plugins, you can use the default tables, use custom tables, or use a PL SQL package to get your blob. And then, of course, we have some metadata headers and some attachments that you can enable. It's just a setting in the plugin, and everything gets stored in collections. So you have the UC email core info, which has the date, the subject, who it's sent, and to who it's who sent the email and to who it is sent. You can also just see the full converted email. So that includes like the HTML conversion and all this core information that is available in the collection as well. It's all coming from this email JSON. And of course, there is a UC email attachment, which contains all the attachments of a certain email. So that was really quickly the email viewer plugin. Again, it's for viewing EML and MSG files in your Apex apps. Then we also have the Image Edit Pro. It's a image editor, of course, in the browser. I don't have any, I forgot to download a demo image, so I can't really show you, but it's basically, you can draw on images, you can add shapes to images, you can add icons to images, text, add masks, watermarks, so, or crop, do grayscale. You can do everything you want with editing this image editor. It is built by Thielen from our friends at the Writing Solutions. And yeah, it's a really cool plugin. You should definitely check it out. And then our last plugin that we released, some of you may already have seen it, but it's a Sankey chart. It's a type of chart that I think Ape also uses quite extensively, and it's now available for download in our portal. So real quick overview of all the plugins that we released. Of course, there is support for the plugins, so if you need anything or want us to add a cool feature to a existing plugin, please let us know. Thank you very much. And I think that is it, Philip. You are muted, by the way.
Oh yeah, I forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, thank you very much. So we got a lot of feedback. That's great to hear. Thank you everybody, like Benjamin, admin, and also Alain. And yeah, if you have like any questions, feel free to contact me. Just Google UCAI. I haven't uploaded the slides yet, but I will probably soon, and also the demos I want to publish. But yeah, you can contact me. I'm also on many socials. So thanks for joining and hope to see you soon again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.